Hello, Pod Smashers of the Internet, and welcome to another episode of
80-Bit Podsmash,
where gaming goes to grab a beer. We are your hosts,
Penguin and Termite. I'm Penguin.
I'm Termite, and we are a weekly video game podcast smashing together the ideas that you care about topically with video games.
Topically?
Yes.
Like on the skin?
Yeah, right. We made this joke already.
Did we really?
Yes.
Oh.
This could have been the third time even.
I don't want to take ideas, squeeze them out of my idea tube onto my hand, rub them onto my skin, like vapor rub.
Mm-hmm.
Ideas.
To a sweet aroma.
Yes, topics that you care about.
Pleasing to the internet.
Yes, we are where gaming goes to grab a beer, and tonight we are drinking pumpkin ale again from Dogfish Head. So
yes.
It's good.
Why are we drinking pumpkin again?
Because we want it so desperately to be fall, even though it still feels like
that has
the armpit of Virginia.
It does. It's so gross still.
It's really gross.
But it has nothing to do with why we're drinking this tonight. We're drinking this tonight because you forgot what you were going to bring.
I forgot,
and then you forgot that you forgot.
Yep. This is very dad brain, very absent-minded right now. It's fine. It's fine. Most of my thoughts are going towards Borderlands 3 these days because it came out and I'm loving it. It's fun. Yay.
Yes, pretty much all that we've been talking about since it came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been talking about it since before it came out. It's pretty much all we've been talking about since April when it was announced.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun. It's very good.
So general impressions are it's good. It's a good game.
Yeah, I mean, if you like Borderlands, you're going to like Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
Is all that I can say. I mean, I had some initial disappointment because there was some performance issues that I was having when playing multiplayer the first night. Also, if you are invested in the story, playing multiplayer may not be the best idea the first time just because you're going to miss stuff when people grab quest objectives that you want. There was some initial, I was just kind of overwhelmed the first night. I was also really tired because I stayed up late.
We did.
But after I sat down with it the next morning and started playing it, I didn't have as many performance issues, and so I really started to get into it. And I've finished it already I finished the campaign already, so I'm mopping up side quests and going to start True Vault Hunter mode to get to level 50 soon. I may be to level 50 before that because the experience you get from questing, doing side quests, if you turn Mayhem mode on, is more than enough. I think I'll be 50 before I even start True Vault Hunter mode.
Wow. So True Vault Hunter mode is the next difficulty. It's the second playthrough of the game, essentially.
Right. Yeah. And
Mayhem mode is like pick up where you left off to finish up anything you currently have
right,
in the game.
Yeah. And they make it's like torment levels in Diablo. They scale up the health and damage of the mobs, and then they also add these modifiers like shotgun weapon damage and decreased by 15% on this planet or whatever. So so they do add some modifiers. The general impressions that people have on the internet is they need to make that harder.
Yeah.
Like right now, people are going on the highest Mayhem mode with the weapons they've got and certain builds and literally just 5-second killing bosses.
Which is when you would just move on to True Vault Hunter mode.
Even in True Vault Hunter, they're on True Vault Hunter mode in Mayhem 3.
Oh, wow.
They are shredding bosses.
Dang.
Like that. Yeah. Part of that's because Gearbox, unlike games like Anthem, Borderlands 3 is more than any other Borderlands game is just obscenely generous with the loot. You just get, I was playing, I told you I was playing for 15 minutes between when my son went down and when I came here and I got 2 or 3 legendaries just by doing random stuff. It's nuts. So it's good. I mean, it's fun. So I am hoping they ratchet up the difficulty a little bit and make things a little bit harder. So that way you have to do the loot grind and you have to maximize things out.
The quickness at which you get legendaries is fun for your initial playthrough, right? It's that dopium hit that you get when you are like, ooh, new loot, ooh, a legendary, oh yeah, upgrades, and you just want that to kind of pace the players through the game, at least the first time. But when you're done with the game, you've done all the side quests, you're in True Vault Hunter mode, your second playthrough, where everything's supposed to be harder. Yeah. You kind of can't keep going at the same rate.
The rate increases, it seems like. It's there's so many more. So I can see the argument being made that it would trivialize the loot after a certain point.
And there needs to be the actual end game, which hasn't really been fleshed out yet because of DLC coming later.
Right. Yeah. They definitely... Yeah, the game still has work to be done, and so hopefully it'll be after the DLC. It'll be good. Yeah, it'll be better. But I mean, it's very enjoyable story. I thought the story was great. Some people have criticisms of the story, but some of that I think has to do more with expectations. People were disappointed because certain expectations weren't met. And the other thing that, for people who haven't finished it yet, I will not spoil anything. But something to keep in mind is this is a story that is a celebration of the female characters of the game. A lot of the male characters. That's something I noticed about halfway through the game. I was like, a lot of the male characters have been sidelined. And that's, honestly, I think it's for the better.
Yeah.
There are still interactions and characters that I want to have some more focus, but I'm okay with them waiting till DLC to do that. The main story is very much a celebration of the female characters of the game, and I think that's great. So.
Awesome. From a technical perspective, the game has some performance issues.
Yeah.
I'll get there in a minute. It's gorgeous. A lot of criticisms were made initially of saying how it didn't look too much different from the pre-sequel or too much different from Borderlands 2 with its initial announcement footage. Yeah. I think that was due to YouTube video compression and a lack of being able to see it. The moment that game was rendered in front of me live, I was like, oh my gosh, this looks like Borderlands 1, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's not flat.
It's got the same
gray,
style,
but it is gray. It's weird. It looks so good. And what really pops for me, what really stands out more than anything is the animations.
And the character models are a lot crisper. Even though they still have that kind of comic book look to them, it's crisper, the lines are cleaner, the colors pop a little bit more. They
more detail.
Feel more 3D, like rendered more through, like each of Lilith's hair, like her hair is more like... Right. You can see more of it, more definition and stuff like that. So,
when they run, everything bounces like hair and clothes, and everything has the physics effects to it. And even seeing Claptrap, his little eyeball moving and his like wheels spinning, his arms going, like there's just all these little extra like touches to it. That's just this nice level of polish.
And other than a couple of frame rate drops, like I said, when I was playing multiplayer, like the only time I really get performance issues are when I'm trying to navigate the menus. For whatever reason, the menus are very, very slow.
Yeah.
But gunplay, gameplay, fighting, moving, all that's very smooth and nice, which I like.
If you want a detailed rundown, check out Digital Foundry's videos on YouTube. They go through a couple of videos that go talk about the Xbox One, PS4 base consoles and Pro and X upgraded consoles. So that's our initial take on Borderlands 3.
Yeah, I can see myself playing it a lot over the next few months to the point where I don't feel the need to like buy other games, even though there are other games that I want. I'm like not sitting there chomping at the bit to be like, oh, I gotta get this game. Like,
but Link's Awakening is coming out this
week.
That's
fine. That's great. I'm not gonna be playing.
Can't wait.
I'll be playing Borderlands for a few months. The next game that I'm sure I will put Borderlands down for sure. I mean, we'll see. Of course, obviously my. Who knows when we'll get burned out of any given game, but I definitely will be picking up Death Stranding when it comes out.
You're definite now, huh?
Well, maybe. I'm more definite. I'm more definite about Death Stranding than I am any other game this year. That includes Pokemon.
Gotcha. That's a great segue because they updated us on Death Stranding at Tokyo Game Show.
Yeah.
That happened this past week? I don't even know when it was.
Right. It was
in the middle of the week. There was all kind of drops. No, because the Final Fantasy VII update was like a Wednesday.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't
know.
Maybe
a Tuesday.
I swore I messaged you about it. Well, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, it's fine.
Go look it up. We don't know the exact dates of when it happened because it's not as publicized as the other conferences, and so we don't get like a North American keynote speech. In fact, the first story I'm going to talk about was Final Fantasy VII Remake. There was an update. There was a new trailer that dropped and tons of gameplay footage. All of it was in Japanese. There was nothing North American about it at all. I mean, people had gone afterwards and translated what they said and made it into news reports. And one of those I'm going to quote here with IGN. So the remake new Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer shows Turks, summons, and squatting. So we got a new updated look at the more scenes in Midgar from Final Fantasy VII, and part of that is the Don Corneo's wall market scene.
Yeah, he's in the American version. He's voiced by Mark Hamill. Did you catch that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
is he really?
Yep.
That's
a nice little, I know. It's great. I love that Mark Hamill does a lot of video game work.
Fantastic.
It's so good.
Follow him on Twitter. He's hilarious.
Is he great?
Yeah.
Nice.
So we have Cloud and Aerith in the Slums Church, the encounter with Don Corneo, and the destruction of the Sector 7 plate. There's also plenty of hints to other famous moments, the squatting minigame, which is actually looked like pull-ups this time, which is kind of weird.
No, there was both. They had both pull-ups and there was squatting. And there was some minigame where Tifa was like monkey bars.
Oh. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, so they are definitely adding content, which
lots
we'll get to.
Of stuff, yeah.
Summons in the form of Ifrit and Shiva. You saw Tifa's Seventh Heaven bar and the motorcycle chase scene.
I wonder if you'll get to control. I want to know if they're going to be like cutscenes like they are. Like this. I wonder if the summons are going to be cutscenes like they are.
Oh no, they talked about. I'll fill you in.
You'll be controlling them.
So here's what happens: you summon them in battle after a gauge fills up. You can summon them and they join your party.
Nice.
You can't actually control them.
Oh, but they go around and do stuff. That's fine. That's still awesome. Yeah.
And then they do like their super thing. before they leave.
That's great. That sounds so cool. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, it looks really cool. So some differences, because the original game, you couldn't get summons until after Midgar, right? That's it. Yeah, there's no summons in Midgar.
No, I'm pretty sure there were summons in Midgar.
The first one you get's the Chocobo.
You're right. Yeah, touche. Yep.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So that's different.
But Midgar also is like the first 3 hours of the game. Like, it's not very long.
Yeah, 6 to 8 hours it takes to get through Midgar.
Well,
so
it's
a good chunk. But this is a full-blown 30-hour game. That's all Midgar. Yeah. So we saw a new soldier character with blonde hair.
Yeah, they're adding new characters for sure.
There was a new scene with Jesse and Biggs parachuting over Sector 7 plate.
Right, I mean...
But Jesse's supposed to be dead, so what's going on there?
Yeah, the bottom line, we don't have to go into detail. The bottom line is they're adding content. Not just content, but story.
They're changing stuff.
They're changing, and making things, So it'll be a game that, story-wise, is the spirit of Final Fantasy VII, but with much more detail and fleshed out moments, which is cool. I think it's great. I do want to talk about the most exciting thing about that trailer, though, and that announcement. They announced classic combat mode. So for those of you who are like, I don't want to play Final Fantasy, I'm a purist. I don't want to play Final Fantasy VII Remake with some fancy pants action ARPG combat system with a weird bullet time menu nonsense. I want to play a good old fashioned turn-based Final Fantasy RPG. Well, have I got news for you? Actually, Square Enix has news for you from the Tokyo Game Show that's a week old, but you can. They announced that you'll be able to do classic combat mode, and they'll turn the combat. I don't know how exactly it's going to work, but basically it's going to be a turn-based RPG. So that's cool. It's basically 2 games in one. Yeah. I mean, it's the same story, but combat is a huge part of any Final Fantasy game. So you could play through it. I mean, I'd find myself playing through it twice, I imagine, once with the ARPG combat and then once with the turn-based.
Did they say whether you could change it mid-game and on the fly?
I think you can probably toggle it.
Because I want to mess with it. I want to see the difference and see which one I like more.
Yeah.
And based on my circumstances, I might want to change it just for a session for one night. Yeah. I don't feel like dealing with the action tonight. I'm just gonna do the simple stuff.
But I want to get pumped. I want to go go crazy and go ham on some folks. Yeah.
And then I wonder how it affects the time. That Scorpion boss fight is a 20-minute boss fight.
Right. Yeah.
And I wonder if it affects that because you're constantly doing stuff in the action-oriented stuff. Yeah. But if you're doing the classic mode, you're hitting attack and then cloud attacks.
Yeah.
Do you actually wait So I wonder how that'll affect the time length of the game. Because if it slows the whole battle down, you could be at those boss battles forever.
I doubt it. I bet it'll still be a 20-minute fight. I think that. I
wonder how they'll compensate.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
I'm sure it'll be roughly equivalent. But that's what I mean. It's it's got the potential to be an entirely different game.
Yeah,
with subsequent playthroughs depending on what combat mode you choose, which is cool.
Yeah.
All right, and then you want.
Yeah, so there was one more thing since we talked about Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
Gearbox official tweeted out earlier this week this exact tweet. Thank you all for your continued enthusiasm and support. We want Borderlands 3 to be the best game possible and are actively monitoring your feedback. We are working on performance and quality of life improvements, and we'll have more to share soon at borderlands.com. So that's awesome.
Which is awesome. It's great. Yeah.
Right off the bat.
It's amazing. I mean,
they're listening.
It's like Borderlands 3 is the games as a service game that's trying really hard not to be a games as a service game, if that makes sense. They're trying to distance themselves from all of the stuff that has made games as a service have a bad taste in players' mouths while still providing a service, because they've announced back at Gamescom that they're doing a Halloween DLC for free, another DLC, an additional free DLC that's going to add a planet and a content and a raid boss and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the year, they're going to have their first portion of the paid story DLC out with Season Pass DLC or whatever. So
did you get the Season Pass yet?
I haven't got it yet. I'm waiting till we're closer to the release.
I want to know what it is first.
Yeah. Well, I'm ready to. Yeah, I'm just gonna. Usually with Season Passes like that, right before the DLC drops. That way, I don't spend $75 all at once on a game.
Yeah. Trickle it out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited though because you get Butt Stallion skins for your weapons if you pre-order. So I am excited about the Butt Stallion skins.
Nice.
But yeah, so it's just great because it's like they're treating it like a games as a service. They're adding content. They're going to be patching quality of life improvements and performance improvements into it, just like any Destiny game or whatever would, which is just great because it both feels like a games as a service game, but also it's just a Borderlands game. You know what I mean? It's not. I don't have
games as a service.
Yeah, I don't have to group up for strike missions and farm the same 5 daily missions over and over again, like without any of that cell phone game crap. It's just a Borderlands game. It's great. Mm-hmm. And they're just like showering me in loot. It's amazing.
The game is so fun. It's so addicting.
It's very, very addicting. It's good.
I'm dying to know the story. So I blitzed through Tales of the Borderlands right up to the release. And so I was like high on Borderlands story right when it came out that night. And like I never cared more about the Borderlands story until I finished Tales of the Borderlands.
It's good. Tales was amazing. Yeah.
So I think we're going to do a Borderlands Redux episode.
I do. Yeah. When you finish
after I finish 3.
Yeah, we're going to do a Borderlands because we did everything Borderlands. Mm-hmm. But the glaring omission and the decision that we had to make was like, do we do that before Borderlands 3 comes out or after? Because if we do after, then we can include like the character. I mean, they just added a whole bunch of characters and story developments and villains and stuff. Yeah, it's like, so I think that I thought I still want to talk about that stuff in the context of Borderlands 3. So I think we'll do an everything Borderlands Redux.
Yeah,
to fold Borderlands 3 into the fold, if you will, to see if that's changed.
Right.
What's our favorite gun now with Borderlands 3 in the mix? Mm-hmm. What's our favorite character? Has any character push someone else out of the favorites? I'm excited for you to finish the story because I want to talk about it.
I know.
There's so many things I can't talk to you about.
I just need more time.
Intense stuff. We'll go hard tonight. I'll hop split screen and make a character on your PS4 and we'll just power through.
All night long.
Even if we went all night long, we wouldn't probably finish it because it's still like a 30-hour game.
Yeah, and I'm only like 6 hours in.
Yeah, I was gonna say a night is only 12 hours.
Yeah,
at best.
Yep,
good stuff. All right, that finishes news, and we can now move along to our next segment, which is
doing this podcast is our favorite thing. Doing this podcast is our favorite thing. Favorite things. A segment in our podcast where we discuss something that we're digging this week that can be as shallow as I had a really comfortable toilet seat to as deep and meaningful as you had a good night with your wife.
I never realized that the term we say the thing we're digging this week that could be shallow or deep.
Hey!
Like a hole that you dig.
There you go. Puns intended all around.
Always intended. There's some quote from a Fire Emblem game that I've seen screen cap before.
I did see that. Yeah.
So
intend your puns, coward.
Don't be a coward. Intend your puns. It's like the quote of my life. I love it.
It's fantastic.
It's a very good one. Cool. Do you have a favorite thing that you wanted to hit? Okay.
So these lovely things I have next to me are printed reproduction game case sleeves. So I mentioned a few weeks back that my friend of the show, Ryan, gave me a bunch of GameCube games, and they didn't have any cases. So I did some research online trying to figure out where I could get the case art. So I had a bunch of art accumulated, JPEGs downloaded that are exact size and fit, high quality scans of the original GameCube case sleeves.
Yeah.
And I ordered them from my favorite printer who also did our business cards.
Nice.
I'm going to give her a shout out. Her name is Jamie Nicholas. On Instagram, you can find her, Ink on Paper. So just one word, all lowercase, Ink on Paper. Go hit her up.
Shout out, support.
Jamie Nicholas Printing. She's awesome. She's printed all of our sweet business cards that you guys may have seen. And she also printed these awesome jackets that I will be able to find. Once I find the empty cases for them, I will insert them into and put Ryan's discs in them, and I'll have a case.
And you'll have a case. That's awesome.
Something I can set on my shelf with the rest of my games.
You could probably sell it, too, and no one would know the difference.
I don't want to sell it.
I know you don't want to, but I'm saying you could.
I could,
If you were to die in a tragic accident and leave all your games to me, then I could sell it.
It's funny you mentioned that, because nowhere on the print itself, and I'm looking at it, I contemplated putting like this is a reproduction on there, and I didn't because I'm a purist and I don't intend to sell them. But if I did, I would feel miffed if I didn't put that on there, or at least tell someone that I did. So maybe I'll do something. I don't know how to indicate that, but yeah. So I'm excited about that. That's my favorite thing. Nice. I want to put these discs into their cases and have them on my shelf and look pretty.
Yeah. So my favorite thing, I'm ultimately at the end of the day just a child at heart. And I'm very basic. Hashtag basic. So it's very easy to impress me in a lot of ways. And I was impressed twice by various things this week because of one little word that we all really deep down inside love. Swag. Ooh. At work, I went to this really boring meeting with a bunch of smart people that are smarter than me and are talking about things that I don't really fully understand yet. But it was one of our vendors that we work closely with, and my boss told me that I should be at this meeting, even though I didn't really get anything out of it. But what I did get out of it was swag. I got some socks. I got a t-shirt. I got a bunch of stickers that were all like the company is Nutanix. They make basically like just all-in-one boxes for like virtualization, but they had like stickers that had the Wu-Tang Clan logo and they said New Tang Clan, and they had
I see what they did there.
X-wings with with their logos on it and everything.
Wow,
so it's a bunch
marketing game.
I know, strong. Nuts. So they had a bunch of stickers that I've put all over my
you watch Silicon Valley, right?
Desk. Yeah.
They sell the box.
Yeah. And I also and so I got t-shirt, socks. And then the best thing though is they gave me this thermos, like a little coffee thermos that is like I put coffee in it. And the thermos itself never got warm. So none of the heat from the coffee like escaped into the metal. Oh. So it's just super well insulated. And I've never had a thermos like that before. All thermoses, I was like, they eventually get hot and heat up to the temperature of the liquid, which is usually a bad sign because it means that the heat from the liquid is going into the actual container. And you don't want that. You want the heat to stay in the liquid, right?
You don't want to feel
so yeah, this coffee just felt hot. Like this coffee just stayed hot for a long time in this thermos, and I was stoked about that. So that was really cool. And then along the same lines with swag, I went to the Borderlands 3 at the Ashland GameStop.
Yeah, you should be wearing it right now.
I should be. Yeah, that would be good. I will if and when we stream this week Borderlands. I will
you have
totally.
A shout out to give.
Yes, I do. Yes, so
you have a shout out.
That's what I'm doing. My shout out is I was at the GameStop in Ashland, Virginia, where I met the guy who checked me out, who checked the game. He was a GameStop employee, but he also streams. So we struck up a conversation, and he streams on Twitch as Practice Live. So that's PRAKTIZ Live. I think games. I think you just do Practice Live, twitch.tv/Practice Live. Check out Twitter. It's on there as well. Our Twitter. But yeah, he streams games, and he was streaming Borderlands, and he was a really cool guy. So he basically gave us a plug. I gave him a plug. We struck up a good rapport, and I got one of the Mayhem Psycho masks. They're like cheap, flimsy plastic, but they look great.
They do look good. And on our Facebook and Instagram page.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
a picture of Penguin Man wearing it.
Yep, exactly. So I got a Borderlands Psycho mask, and I was like giddy like a schoolboy. You can't see crap out of it. Like if I were to play wearing the mask, I would wear it on my head. Like, you know what I mean? Like with it up, like the visor up, because I couldn't see anything otherwise. Yeah. But it looks great. I love it. So
sweet.
So yeah, so Practice Live, go check him out. He's on Twitch. He's also on Twitter and all that good stuff.
I confirm that is his Twitch handle. You were correct.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Yep. So, cool. Those are favorite things. Yay, favorite things.
All right.
Leads us to our next segment, which is DLC.
Downloadable content.
Since this is apparently like a Borderlands 3 episode, have you done any of the... There's all the like challenges in and one of the types of challenges you can do is you can like sabotage the radio stations for the Cult of the Vault. Mm-hmm. Have you like listened to what plays? Oh, it's so great because they're like, it's such a, it's lambasting the sort of streaming and YouTube culture. Mm-hmm. One of the things I overheard, it got me so excited because one of the things I overheard while doing one of the sabotages one time was I was listening to it, and then they're doing their thing. They're like, "We're here live with our God Queen," and they're talking, and then I hear meow 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 meow.
Yes,
it's such a thing.
It is.
It is such a thing. So yes, if you you might hear a familiar sound if you it's not necessarily any kind of reference to us. Obviously, we are also pulling from the same well in that regard, but you will hear a familiar sound when playing Borderlands 3.
Yep.
And that is the rap hordes. So pretty funny. All right. Yes, that was just a side note again. Talk to me. DLC. No, I talked to you because I came up with the topic for DLC this time.
Did
DLC it stands for downloadable content, and it's a little. You already did this whole thing. It's sort of a side discussion.
That I didn't do.
Yeah. So it's a topic that you normally wouldn't discuss. Although I came to think about it, I'm like, this is actually something that I've had this exact conversation before, but we're gonna have it anyways because we are talking about game cancellations today and canceled games. I wanted to ask broader for DLC. I wanted to go a little bit broader since we're gonna narrow in on games. If you could bring back any canceled piece of media, something that had existed but then they stopped making it, like suddenly, very suddenly, but it can be TV shows, it could be a comic book series, it could be something else beyond just a game. If you could bring it back, what would it be? And then the follow-up question to that, you have to go and dig a little bit deeper because this is DLC after all. How would it be better now that it's 2019 or 2020, depending on when you listen to this? But now that we're like coming up on a new decade, how would the thing that got canceled that you loved be better now than it was before? Because I've got an answer now. If you need to, think
I have no idea.
Okay, so one of my favorite TV shows of all time is Firefly. I know that's some low-hanging fruit. It's
very low-hanging
arguably
fruit.
my favorite TV show of all time because there were so many opportunities for it to come back, and it never ended up coming back. Now, I understand there is an argument out there that, well, if they brought it back now, it would just, like, the expectations are too high. And they probably would not do it justice, and they would probably ruin it. And so why not just let it be in the past, let it be in this canceled state where it will forever be good, instead of bringing it back with the chance of it being bad. My counter to that is, number one, just because something new comes out doesn't negate the goodness of its previous iterations, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Take any given TV show. I will say, for example, the first season of Lost is still, I would say, one of the best seasons of television of all time.
It's amazing.
It was an incredible season of television.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the show eventually got bad doesn't make the earlier episodes suddenly bad. So so you can't just ruin something because you bring it back. You can just, if you liked season one of Firefly, then just watch season 1 of Firefly if they brought new seasons back. But my other thought is, in 2019, I feel like 2019, it's now been enough time. It's like there's an arc. There is an arc that you go through with a TV show or a movie, and I'll use Star Wars as an example of that. The prequels came out, I would argue, too soon. And there was other problems with bringing back Star Wars with George Lucas, I will admit, but I still think that, like, we just hadn't reached that point where bringing back Star Wars would have been, like, I think 2015 when Force Awakens came out, that was the right time because the actors were older, so you could set a story where the old veterans are, like, raising up the new generation.
That was good. I was about to tie this back to our generation conversation where there's a generation gap. You got to reach the next one.
I feel like we've hit that point with Firefly too, where, like, you could have a new crew with the old crew being the veterans kind of ushering in the new crew.
Yep.
And then furthermore, like, I have a lot of faith in Joss Whedon as a director, I think, or as a writer. I think he would be able to write, especially now that a lot of the hype and the craze has died down. And then the last reason why I think 2019 is a good year for it is because, or 2019 is a good year for it, is because Netflix and Hulu and HBO and everyone's taking these precious properties and throwing tons of money at it. Whereas in 2005, 2006, I forget when the show first aired, like, obscure sci-fi like that was not popular, hadn't really reached its popularity.
The landscape's totally different now.
And Fox didn't want to pay money for all the budget for the spaceship battles or whatever. And now in 2019-20, like, any one of those, like, they would throw money at a property like that, and the space battles would be just that much better, I think, and that much more awesome.
They could make $1 billion.
They could ratchet up some of the sci-fi elements of the show.
Wait, you want a TV show or a movie?
I want it to be a TV show.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
It's so much better as a TV
show. Put it on the Disney Plus stream and just fund it by Disney and just go on with it.
Well, they own Fox now, so totally, they could absolutely do that.
Yep, that was the connection I was making.
Please, bring back Firefly. It was canceled before its time.
Yep.
So, all right, that's my
rant. One.
My Firefly rant. Got it. Okay, go.
Back in 2007, okay? 2004 was the year Halo 2 came out.
Yeah.
2007... for me, was the Halo hype arc at its peak.
Yeah.
Halo 3 was coming. Maybe it was already out. I don't remember the exact release date, but if I had to guess, I would say 2007 is when it came out. There was a trailer made by Neil Blomkamp.
Oh, yeah.
He's the guy who did District 9 and
No.
Yeah, Blomkamp's first feature, 2009's excellent sci-fi film District 9.
Oh, really?
And followed up by Cappy.
Peter Jackson.
Peter Jackson was tapping his... Yes,
gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I was about to bring Peter Jackson's name into this.
All right, yeah, because he was...
So you guys remember all of that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So in hindsight, at the time this trailer was made, I thought it was absolutely incredible, but Neil Blomkamp meant nothing to me. Peter Jackson did.
Yes.
Because he did...
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, right? Yeah. So, super hype Lord of the Rings, Halo. And this trailer was amazing. I don't know if you remember it or not.
I don't remember the trailer.
Freaking hyped for this movie.
Because Peter Jackson wanted to make Halo. That's how District 9 came about. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the assets from District 9 they used because they were creating it for Halo.
So this was 2007 when all this was happening. But 2009 was when District 9 came out. 2 years later, District 9 came out. So, it got canceled. And I was bummed out. I would love to see that remade.
Yeah.
And there's still, there's Halo TV series coming or something. There's comic books, movies. There's all this stuff now. So...
And much of it has been garbage.
Yes.
Much of it has been garbage.
But Halo in general is kind of like overdone now. It's kind of done. Like no one was really excited about Halo 5, and there's this Halo Infinity thing that no one knows, Halo Infinite that no one really knows a lot about yet, but maybe there's a little hype. We know it's going to be a launch title for the next gen Xbox, but Halo doesn't have that punch to it anymore, right?
It's had its moment. It had its moment in the sun in the 2000s, and now
it's it.
Other first-person shooters have done everything Halo did better,
right?
So it's hard to
And then so District 9 was followed up by the other movie, Cappy, I think is what it was called, which was also awesome. I liked it. They didn't make a lot of money, but they were good. And so, in today's time, would not be good to bring it back. So that's kind of the opposite answer you were looking for.
Oh, well, yeah. That's
so,
fine.
No, it would not be good to bring it now.
Yeah.
But if I wanted it, I really wanted it then.
I think if they did, yeah. Well, I can see a world. I can see a context in which a Halo movie would be. If they were to do just the plot of Halo 1, and flesh it out as a good high-budget TV show, I think it could be good.
Come on, Disney Plus, do it.
do it, Disney Plus. No, I want HBO. I want HBO to do Halo.
Make
gritty
it real.
And dark.
Okay, all right. This is a family-friendly podcast, so we're not going to go any details
well, we are
about that.
30 minutes into the show already, so
yet.
Let's go ahead. But we've been talking about canceled things, so we're kind of priming our audience, so it's okay. But let's go ahead and move on to our main topic and talk about DLC is over. Mirror. It's got kind of like a sad drunk cat. Mirror. It's my sad drunk cat sound. Also sad drunk rap porn. All right. We're going to talk about video game cancellation. So we talked about movies and TV shows and stuff like that, but let's talk about video games.
Cancellations.
Cancelifications. Yeah, so what does it mean for a game to be canceled? It's pretty straightforward, but...
This is actually a little different from the movie industry.
Yeah.
Most of the time, movies get canceled before any filming actually happens. Because it takes so much pre-production to even get to the filming portion of a movie production. Video games get canceled at any point.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Even at the almost it's going to be released.
Yeah, they can have assets, they can have everything ready, and it can be canceled.
So that's the biggest difference. But what does it mean? Cancels, meaning you are going to stop production on a video game immediately, and all of the assets will be shelved, or they will be pruned for the picking for a future project.
Right.
If that's even the word I'm looking for.
Yep. So games, I mean, it just means that the game that was in production is no longer coming out.
Right. It's not going to happen.
This kind of segues into our next question, but this is not anything that's confirmed yet. This is just Penguin speculation.
Who are you?
I am Penguin.
Who are me? Copyright. Don't sing anymore.
Yeah, I even changed the word. I said, who are me?
Okay, all right.
Penguin is speculating here. I am very concerned about Diablo Immortal. Not because I care about Diablo Immortal. I'm concerned about the fact that the game was announced months ago.
Almost a year now.
Yeah, the Chinese company that made it or whatever. I forget what it's called.
Tencent?
Yeah, Is it Tencent?
Or something else I forgot now?
Maybe you're right. Anyways, whatever. The Chinese company they had outsourced it to had announced that they had already passed it off to Blizzard for final approval. So the game was done. And it still isn't out yet. And that was their big capstone announcement of BlizzCon last year.
Yeah, it was.
So I'm really wondering NetEase, yes. I knew it was one or the other. So NetEase had already passed it off. I'm wondering, is the game canceled? Or are they going to try to shadow drop it at next BlizzCon? Maybe. I don't know. It's just, I'm wondering if it's canceled.
Well, we know the debacle. We talked about it here. Right? It was met with massive anger.
Yeah, we don't need to pull out those
My speculation, worms. No, we're not going to go into the controversy, but it was very controversial.
Yeah.
But my speculation is that they're waiting to the right time.
Right.
I think they're going to want to put some Diablo 4 out there.
Yeah.
An announcement, they might do it
for
that.
Exactly.
And then to get hype for Diablo 4, here's the cell phone game.
Yeah.
That's already done.
Yeah.
Get your feet wet with this thing. And then if they decide to go crazy, they'll link them so that you can create a character in Immortal that'll port over to 4, and you'll get like in-game goodies.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Back and forth to kind of soothe all of that.
That's very possible.
That's
but it would be interesting. I just think there's a world out there where Diablo Immortal was canceled. There's some universe out there where Diablo Immortal was canceled after it had already been finished.
Right.
So I can imagine that that's a possibility in the gaming world. Unlike in the movie world, you'd never... If they finished a movie, they'd be like, all right, let's cut our losses and just release it and make whatever we can off of it. Whereas in the gaming world, they could very well be like, nope.
Yeah.
We're not releasing this because of whatever backlash they may or may not get.
I'm going to mash your two questions, the next two.
Cool. Yeah, go for it. They're meant to be mashed. So,
what are some reasons why games are canceled and what happens to them but then what are some of the games that were notoriously canceled?
Yeah,
I'm going to merge those two together because we have
them.
examples of each thing that happened.
Yeah.
And we just touched on Diablo Immortal being possibly completed, so I'm going to start with that.
Okay.
Star Fox 2 for the Super Nintendo was canceled.
That's actually a real-life example of what I just described, yeah.
Yep, and all the details about all of this came about when the Super Nintendo Classic was going to be released, and they announced Star Fox 2, the Super Nintendo port, was finally going to be officially released for the first time ever. What had happened, and they talked about this with Shigeru Miyamoto, the guy who made Zelda and Mario, about why it was canceled. It was canceled because at the time Star Fox 2 was slated to be released, was at the very end of the Super Nintendo life cycle, and the N64 had come out. So Super Mario 64 was there, and he saw the graphics potential and realized these games will coexist. Mario 64 and Star Fox 2. Mario 64 will make Star Fox 2 look like trash. Horrible frame rates, bad resolution, like everything, right? There's only so much they can do with the Super Nintendo in order to make it look and feel good. Yeah. So he said, can it? We're going to make Star Fox 64.
Right, yeah.
And they reused so many assets. So if you go back to Star Fox 2,
it looks like just
similar.
a jankier version of 64.
And so they actually just reused a lot of those assets into the production of Star Fox 64, which was absolutely incredible. So that's an example of a game that was completed, done, and ready to be published, and they just shelved it for that reason. And that's Nintendo being able to do that because they're rich enough that they can pay for the production of an entire game and then still shelve it to produce another one and make money somehow.
Some other examples of games that are like reasons why games may be canceled and examples of games that were canceled for those reasons. I'm going to lump a couple together.
Yeah.
StarCraft Ghost and Scalebound were both canceled because in StarCraft Ghost case, Blizzard got a hold of it and was like, they had worked on it for so long and they're like, this is not working. This game is just not up to our standards. So it was canceled. Similar thing happened with Scalebound, except the politics of the way it was linked up was a little different, but I believe it was Platinum Games was making it for Microsoft as an Xbox exclusive. And Platinum Games got to the point where they were like showing it off to Microsoft, and Microsoft was not pleased with what they saw. Therefore, they canceled it due to so a game could be canceled because you get a certain point in production and someone in the decision-making process says, you know what, this does not live up to the standards that we want to release, which I think is a smart reason for canceling a game. I guess the balance they do is, because there are other examples of games, Warcraft 3, for example, they got about halfway through production where start
this ain't
over.
Gonna work.
This ain't gonna work. Start over from scratch. So there are examples of games that they've decided it is cost effective enough for us to go ahead and just start over or rework things to make it work. But sometimes they do that balancing match. So for StarCraft Ghost, for example, they were like, you know what, this is not worth it for us to start over. This is not living up to our standards, so we're just going to cancel it. Same thing would happen with Scalebound. This is not living up to our standards that we want. We don't want to spend the money to make it better, so we're going to cancel it.
It's done.
Yep, it's done.
And funnily enough, you mentioned that Nintendo's doing it right now with Metroid Prime 4.
Exactly.
And they didn't cancel it. They just moved production from a different company to back to Retro Games that originally made Metroid
so
Primes.
Nintendo has decided that they're willing to take the hit. They're willing to take the hit of delaying the game in order to, they believe they'll make enough money.
Right. And there's no idea if they're taking assets from what this other company developed and handing it off to Retro, or if Retro starting from scratch, but they essentially said development starting over instead of canceling, which is a good story.
Which is great. Yeah, exactly.
That's
cool.
Well,
but with all of these, and we may get into this later, but with all of these, many of them, I should say, not all of them, but many of them, the game exists in my head as this awesome game. StarCraft Ghost. The concept sounded awesome. A stealth third-person shooter in the StarCraft universe sounds so cool to me.
Even right now.
Yeah.
Someone could pick up the development right now and
show
that off.
Supposedly they were doing that. They were making another third-person shooter in the StarCraft universe that was Gears of War style.
Oh, yeah?
And it's been canceled already.
Oh, jeez.
Right? So frustrating. But the StarCraft universe would be so perfect for a third-person action shooter.
It would be.
But whatever.
I wish they just make World of StarCraft and call it done.
No, I don't want it to be a MMO. I would rather it be, for I would rather it be a good version of like a Destiny style games as a service.
Wouldn't that be
where
amazing?
You're planet hopping, taking out Zerg strongholds.
But you want to play as Zerg,
but maybe
too.
you want to play as Zerg,
play as Protoss, and have the ability to do all of that.
Think about Destiny, but with like factions like World of Warcraft, where you pick Zerg, Protoss, or Terran,
and it's an always online
battlegrounds. But you have battlegrounds like World of Warcraft, so that's the PvP is the battlegrounds.
Helldivers. Wasn't that had the factions and like you would invade planets and like it was still online, but you didn't really fight each other directly, but you could. Oh my gosh! Anyway, so we're on a tangent. So canceled games.
But you could also invite. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So, but that gives you like an idea. So like some of these games have really good ideas. Scalebound was a Platinum Games third-person action RPG where you were a dragon tamer.
Yeah.
And you fought other dragon tamers and bad guys with controlling your dragon. That is a game that, in my mind, sounds awesome. So on one hand, I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad it was canceled if it wasn't living up to what that vision is. But that's still a really cool idea. Can we find a way to make that idea work?
It happen.
Because that's a game I want to play.
Right. It looked really good. I was sold.
Really good. Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't have an Xbox One. I was like, if that comes out, I might have to give me an Xbox One.
Think about Anthem, except so you have free flight.
But it's actually
good. But you have free flight. You have this whole world you can explore, free flight, but instead of an Iron Man suit, which admittedly is really cool.
It is.
But imagine just like riding around on a dragon.
It'd be awesome.
It'd be nuts.
It'd be so
good.
Yep.
Yeah. There's so much possibility.
The next one I want to talk about is Star Wars 1313. Yes. This is another reason why games get canceled is their studios get shut down by their publishers.
Yep.
So Visceral Games was slated to make Star Wars 1313 with Amy Hennig at the head of the writing, who did all the Uncharted games except for 4. I think she left Naughty Dog at 4. Yep. And so it was slated to be this amazing game. They showed it off at E3. There was gameplay footage. Looked absolutely amazing. And EA decided to shut the whole studio down, including that game.
Yep. So that kind of brings, there's a further question there. There's okay, there's a jump that we have to make, which is why do publishers shut down studios?
And publishers don't necessarily shut the studio down. If a studio only has one game from one publisher, and then that publisher backs out their funding, the studio has no choice to shut down.
Right, they have to shut down. But
so we said it.
But what are reasons why a studio might get their funding pulled by the publisher?
There could be politics. There could be, we're not producing what you're paying us for.
Right.
I'm giving you all this money to make this game, and you're not listening to us. And there's just friction between the relationship, and it breaks down.
Yep. Sometimes publishers also they will like EA is notorious for this. Like if a game comes out that doesn't do well, sell well, or gets panned, raked over the coals, they'll shut down studios. Like, as it's not necessarily punishment, but it seemed like punishment. It's kind of like like you didn't do well enough for us, so bye bye.
And Sony's kind of did the same thing. I mean, Media Molecule, who made Dreams, is kind of on the hook. Like, if Dreams ain't good, what's next? Like, you don't have another game coming out.
Yeah, people have been afraid about BioWare with that too. Since Anthem, both Anthem and Andromeda, the last 2 games they made,
and Dragon Age Inquisition didn't do too well either. Well, it struggled. There was relationship issues with Inquisition. I think it ended up being a success, but it's been Andromeda was the big hit. Bad.
Yeah, so they seem to be, EA has said that they're not closing BioWare down, but it's almost like if Dragon Age 4, is it 4?
Yeah, that's the next one.
Yeah, if Dragon Age 4 doesn't do well, then...
Or 3? You're right. I don't know if it is 3.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's Origins Awakens, and there's Dragon Age 2. So it has to be 3.
It's 3, yeah. Or Dragon Inquisition is 3, so 4.
You're right.
So, so this is Dragon Age 4. Yeah, if Dragon Age 4 does not do well... It's very possible BioWare gets shut down because, again, it started like a strike 1, strike 2. But I mean, that's both logical and kind of cruel at the same time. But it's kind of the cold hard business of like, sorry, you're not profitable for us anymore.
Right.
So,
and there's all these weird contract things. Like BioWare is bound to EA. Like they can't, as a development studio, they can't start making games for another company either. And so if EA pulls their funding, they really are left with nothing.
Right. That's kind of the deal with the devil you strike when you do that, which is, as much as I like Sony, all things considered, and as much as I like Insomniac, part of what I thought made Insomniac magical was that they were untethered. Now they are tethered. Now they are a Sony exclusive studio. If they have a couple of bad luck games in a row, then it's possible we see studios like Insomniac or Naughty Dog. Like, no one is immune to this possibility.
Right.
And, you think that, they're just going to make quality stuff forever, but they might not, they could always have just a downturn. The tastes of the gaming community could change suddenly, and suddenly, what is working and doing well now may not be doing well in mid 2020s,
right.
you know?
And then you throw in the wrench of a 5 to 6 year development cycle, and you don't know what the gaming industry will look like in 5 to 6 years.
Exactly. So you might start working on a game, and by the time that game comes out, people will hate it for reasons you can't control. And then, you know, you have enough of that bad luck in a row, and if you don't adapt quickly enough, then you could see any one of these studios could get shut down like that. And that's scary. And it's also something that, like, studios need to consider when it literally is a trade-off. Like, yes, we're going to be able to make higher quality games because we're getting more funding because we've signed this exclusivity deal, but
it better be good.
It better end up good, and it better work out for us, because if it doesn't, you can get crushed. And I don't feel like the landscape was like that in the mid 2000s. I don't feel like the landscape was like that in the late 90s when, you know, gaming started to boom. I feel like there were enough independent studios that were able to be lucrative and make money and do their own thing without being able to be just shut down by EA or Activision. And like Bungie is a great example of a studio that's been able to survive something like that in the 2010s, because they
broke away from Activision.
They broke away from Activision and were able to keep their IP like successfully so far, from what we can tell. We'll see how they do with Shadowkeep with their new Destiny expansion.
Right.
But nevertheless, like, that's an example of a studio that has been able to make that.
I have a good feeling about them. I think they're going to do well.
I think they are going to do well. I agree. I'm just worried that they're going to then sell themselves off to someone else. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, you have just gained independence. Keep it.
Right.
I kind of feel the same way about Insomniac. Like, why didn't you keep your independence when you had it? I get it, money. You know what I mean?
Like, I
get it. It's money. That's what I mean.
Everyone wins.
90% of our reasons why are games canceled? Money. It's really far from the line. But we can go deeper than that. Do you want to hit more? Do you have any other reasons off the list?
Silent Hills is another example of something different that happened.
Yes.
So PT came out. It was the playable trailer. We've talked about it on the show. It's a horror movie.
Amazing.
Hideo Kojima under Konami was supposed to make with Guillermo del Toro. Please tell me it's
so
del Toro.
Right. You're right. No, you're right. And it's
okay.
It's so disappointing because it's so good.
There was a fallout between Kojima and Konami. Yep. And this is weird.
So Kojima being a person,
unique,
and Konami being a company. A company, exactly. Because there's someone who might not be knowledgeable will be like, are those two Japanese people?
No, yeah. So yeah, Konami as a company hired Kojima, who had made all the Metal Gear Solid game, all the Metal Gear games for Konami under their license, everything. They still own all that IP.
Yep.
Kojima and them had a fallout. We don't know the details of it still to this day.
Right, but it's something political, some kind of drama.
It was very bad because they just cut Kojima loose completely with no support, nothing. Fired him. Done. And PT was a playable trailer for a game called Silent Hills.
And of course, Del Toro pulled from that project too because he was close with Kojima. So they just both were like, okay, peace. And then, so what does Konami do? Like, what can Konami do at that point?
They can continue. They have the IP rights to Silent Hill, but they just canned the game because the major producer, writer, director, executor, the head of everything,
the selling point
is gone.
Is gone.
Right.
Yeah.
So the game just got kind of shelved, and that's it. It's gone. Now we have Death Stranding.
Yeah,
with the same two people.
Right, yeah, which is awesome, but like, I feel bad. I do feel kind of bad for Konami. I'm like, why didn't you just finish what he started? You already had all the assets.
They would have done terribly.
You own the IP.
That's
what did you have?
Have you seen Metal Gear Survive? It's
fair.
a crap show.
All right, fair.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can imagine good games have come out under worse circumstances. And especially if someone's already kind of done. I imagine the writing was already done. I imagine that most of the assets were already created. Like, maybe not
the engine was there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like he had already done half the work for them. All they had to do is bring it across the finish line.
Right. It's the Fox engine. He made Metal Gear Solid 5 with it. It was used in PT. Like,
but maybe it was maybe that was part of the fallout. Maybe he was like, I will burn this company down if this game comes out. That's very possible. Yeah. So it sounds like it was just really bad blood, and so they decided to cut their losses.
But it's just another unique way.
It is a very unique way that games
can be canceled.
Right. It's so disappointing too because that game would have been so amazing. I haven't ever played a Silent Hill game, and I would have, other than PT, I suppose, and I would have played. On PT alone, I would have played Silent Hills.
Yep.
Yeah.
And another
one, crap myself. I would have had to buy so many new packets of underwear from Walmart.
Oh my
gosh.
I
would have been.
PT is still scary, and I have played it so many times.
I'd only have to play that game on the toilet because
it's so bad. It's so scary.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Another one I want to talk about because this is just an unknown. Rockstar had announced, or somehow it got leaked, that Rockstar was going to make this game called Agent, and then it went away. And this is another unique.
It's gone
because Rockstar is a self-publisher developer.
Yeah.
So they're so big and so amazing that they just do everything themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And there's some 2K relationship there somewhere, and I don't know the details. We had a Rockstar episode, I believe, that went into details about that.
Did we?
I think we did.
Yeah, we did. You're right.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah, it was around Red Dead came out.
Yeah. And so they have like their own publishers and developers within themselves under the umbrella, and they're related to 2K games in some way. They own some stuff. But Agent just kind of was like a thing, and then
I wonder if it was due to, and we don't know, so this is speculation here again, more Penguin speculation. I wonder if it was because, like, with other games, like, you know, I feel like Rockstar makes a lot of very unique games, like Grand Theft Auto. There's not very many games like Grand Theft Auto. Red Dead Redemption, there aren't very many games like Red Dead Redemption. I wonder if they were just like, with like Hitman and other games like that, I wonder if it was too similar to like Bond games and Hitman. There's a landscape of like secret agents. I don't know what that game was supposed to be. So, but that immediately comes to mind. I was like, oh, well, maybe they were just like, this is too similar to what other games are doing, so we're going to scrap it and do something else.
Open world games exist because Grand Theft Auto 3's success. Yeah. Everyone chased after that.
Oh,
so there's a ton of games. Mafia.
Well, okay, yeah.
L.A. Noire. Well, L.A. Noire is actually Rockstar internally. Right. But what's the Agents of Mayhem, Saints Row,
Watch Dogs. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they're all kind of inspired by Grand Theft Auto. Yeah. Well, but, you know, Grand Theft Auto, it's one thing to, like, be the first to land on a certain territory and then have other people copy you.
Right.
It's another thing to be like, kind of come in when other games are already doing what you're doing.
And that's like, what I was alluding to earlier with the 5 to 6 year development cycle.
Right,
Because it took 5 to 6 years to finally make the games that are that big. Assassin's Creed's following.
Yeah, imagine how disappointed Horizon Zero Dawn, how Guerrilla Games was when Breath of the Wild was announced, kind of doing very similar thing, but with an IP that's already massive and global. And then coming out this, like, within a week of you and you're like, I still say Horizon Zero Dawn, the only way in which that game may have suffered is due to coming out so close to Breath of the Wild. Yeah.
Yep.
And it still did pretty well for itself, because they are doing Horizon Zero Dawn too, so good for them. Anyways, cool. Did you want to talk about the rest of them? I don't know if some of these...
I'm not going to... I mean, I don't know the stories, right? Yeah. I didn't have time to research all of the stories.
I will say one of the examples that I added to this was, and this is more along the lines of the second part of this question, is what happens to canceled games.
Yeah.
There was a game called Project Titan that Blizzard was making, and it was supposedly it was going to be an MMO FPS, which now we know is basically the idea that Destiny has done with the games as a service looter shooters. So, but this was before any looter shooters. This game was being talked about back at Wrath of the Lich King. They had talked about Project Titan, but they never really showed anything, but there were hints that it was going to be an FPS and that it was going to have MMO elements. If not being a fully MMO in and of itself. So, which is a brand new idea, because every MMO up to that point had been an RPG, third person, character customizations, all that good stuff. So we hadn't seen Destiny, Anthem, Division, and shooters. We hadn't seen the shooter idea being added. And this was even before Borderlands, I believe. Or it was around the time Borderlands 1.
Because Borderlands was the first looter shooter.
Exactly.
So people saw that idea and started like,
I think Project Titan was even being talked about before that.
I don't remember the timeline.
I think 2000, again, like I said, it was around Wrath of the Lich King. I'm just trying to remember where I was in life. Maybe it was afterwards, because I feel like... Anyways, it doesn't matter. Project Titan was this, secret project. It got canceled, obviously, but never was announced that it was canceled, because again, there was no game announcement. So unlike, there were Scalebound, StarCraft Ghost, Star Wars 1313, all these other games we've been talking about have been projects that were announced, had trailers, had assets shown off. Project Titan never was shown off. Therefore, there was no official cancellation because there was no official announcement.
That's true.
What happened, though, was the game got scrapped, got canceled, and many of the assets and ideas ended up becoming what we now know as Overwatch. So Overwatch kind of came out as a result. So, like you had alluded to earlier, sometimes these games get canceled and then their ideas end up getting pillaged or tweaked so much that they become entirely different games. So sometimes something else can come out of the ashes of a fallen game. Here I am being all poetic. But yeah, that's kind of one of the things that happens. So... did you want to talk about you have more, do you want to just kind of list the last ones we have?
Fable Legends was supposedly supposed to come out, and that was more of the same kind of games as a service Fable
open,
MMO,
kind of open world MMO,
thing
multiplayer,
just went away.
That's fascinating. That would have been...
Lionsgate Studio apparently is done. They got shut down.
Did they?
So that's when like Fable 4 was mysteriously possibly picked up. We talked about this at E3 by Playground.
Right,
Forza Horizon. So that was kind of weird. So that just happened, and we don't know I don't know the details. You can look it up. It's out there.
Right, but the people who made Fables 1, 2, and 3 are now done. Yeah, so now if Fable comes out, it will be...
Lionsgate's a movie publisher, too. I wonder if it was the same name.
Interesting, yeah.
I don't know. And then there's Mega Man Legends 3.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with Mega Man Legends games. They're amazing. I haven't played the sequel, but the first one for PlayStation was awesome, and it came out on the N64 as Mega Man 64. There was a sequel, Mega Man Legends 2, and there was slated to be a third one. It's a third-person RPG, action RPG Mega Man game.
Yeah.
And so it has all the gear that you would upgrade Mega Man with and all this, and action platforming and all this cool stuff. So another canceled big game that I don't know the story behind. So
yeah. Well, cool. Yeah. We have some links here in our notes. We'll try to add those to the episode notes as well, because there's just a couple other links to websites that have lists of various games that have been canceled over the years. So if you want to find out more about what other games were things that were announced that were ended up being canceled, you can read more. We'll give you some more reading to do. But we'll finish. I wanted to talk about why do we spend an entire episode? Why have we spent 55 minutes minus, the time we spent talking about DLC and Borderlands? Why is this important? What impact do game cancellations have on the gaming industry and the gaming culture at large?
Game cancellations ultimately better the gaming industry. We might hate them at the moment. We miss the IP. We miss what it could have been. We have these awesome ideas that we'll never see come to fruition. But publishers make these decisions hopefully smartly, and this is where I could put on my pro-corporate hat. People can lambast me all day on the internet about it. But they make these decisions, they cancel these games, they reuse assets, there's something wrong with the game, and they make a smart decision to just cancel it and do something else with what they have, take those people, hopefully, and move them into something else, or lay them off where they go off to do better things somewhere else because you can get inspired by being fired. It sucks in the moment. It's horrible to be laid off. You have to get back in the job market. But I think a lot of people land on their feet. These developers are super smart and very talented. And in general, you look at the entire gaming industry as a whole, all the publishers, all the developers, and the video games that we get now, I don't think we'd have the indie movement if it wasn't for canceled games.
Yeah.
And a lot of these big AAA titles, would Nier Automata look like it did without the cancellation of Scalebound? Would Bayonetta 3 look the way that it does without the cancellation of Scalebound?
Yeah.
Would Overwatch look the same as it did without the cancellation of Titan? So you have a thread that you can pull all the way through the history of gaming where you see all these canceled stuff, the talent behind them and what they're doing today, and it all feeds each other. It's all this big, malleable, amorphous thing. It's just like awesome.
Yeah, but you could say that about anything, and I think that I will disagree only because I think that we had already said it. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, games are canceled because of money. That is a conversation, and that is granted, in some regards you say, okay, well, we're capitalists, right? We think that if something doesn't make money, it's because it's not good.
Right.
You can't always apply that argument, though, to art. And we talk a lot about art in this podcast. I think that oftentimes artistic integrity is compromised due to a desire to make money, due to a desire to profit off of that art. So I think there have been plenty of video games that were canceled due to financial reasons that would have been amazing games, even if they didn't sell well. You know what I mean? So a game doesn't have to sell well to be a good game. And a game does not have to be profitable to be a good game.
Right.
Or to be an artistic game. And there's hundreds of examples I probably could cite. You know what I mean?
And my counter argument to that is that those awesome artistic games exist because people who designed them and had the dream and the vision to make those games worked somewhere else on a canceled game and had the opportunity to make it.
It doesn't negate the fact that the canceled game would have still been great.
The idea of the canceled game, the IP of it, yeah, you're right.
But the game could have still been great. I mean, and I'll use an example I think that flies in the face completely of your argument is Silent Hills. Silent Hills probably would have been an amazing game, period.
Right. Yeah.
And yes, they went on to make other games, but it doesn't change the fact that had they not had a falling out for probably what ultimately results in stupid reasons.
That's a good case study.
Probably some manager, probably some person at Konami that butted heads with Kojima and they just didn't get along personality-wise, had a falling out, and a game got canceled. What could have been an amazing artistic experience got canceled as a result. Not only an artistic experience, but an artistic experience that would have likely sold well. So I do think that there is...
But we have Death Stranding. And where would that be if it didn't get canceled?
That's fine. Maybe it did come out. Maybe it didn't. It doesn't matter.
But that's my argument, is that the people who got canceled, which should be Kojima's game, PT, was shut down. Now he was free to go take Del Toro and go make
But
Death
the argument can be made that a person... it's too complicated. You're speaking in absolutes.
Yeah.
Not every person that gets not every talented person that's games gets canceled, gets laid off, that gets fired, is going to go on to make more games. They might get disheartened and then say, this incredibly talented person might get disheartened and say, well, screw it, I'm going to go work something else. Yeah. You know, and then the industry has lost talent. Or that's a negative, someone who's incredible, and we don't know. No, we don't know that Death Stranding, for example, is going to be good. What if it flops terrible and is awful? Right. Then you have a circumstance where someone who is probably making an amazing game gets laid off, the game gets canceled, they go on to make something garbage. Right. That is a possibility as well. So it is complicated. And I do completely agree with your point that, like, I do hope Death Stranding is amazing. I did say it's the game I'm looking forward to most. Yeah. Finishing out 2019. The next games that I'm looking forward to aren't coming out until 2020, and those are Cyberpunk and Final Fantasy. So, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Death Stranding, and I'm crossing my fingers and hoping it's good. If it's garbage, then that would be really disappointing. But that is again, you can just talk about that's as much of a possibility as it being amazing, and we having the cancellation of Silent Hills to thank. So I do think that, you know, I would agree that is a thing, but I also say that, like, you know, I don't think that game cancellations are always good, but I do agree that most of the time I think that they are probably, you know, things like Scalebound and StarCraft Ghost, probably better for us to not be disappointed by the end result than disappointed by, you know, the game never coming out and us getting to have our perfect vision of it in our heads.
And you get to live in that world.
Yeah, exactly.
Forever.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll never be spoiled.
Yep, exactly. So I agree. I think that it hasn't, one way or another, in both cases, it has an impact. On the one hand, it's like we have less good games. On the other hand, we have more good games. So it's like, I don't know where the balance is, if that balances each other out.
More, right?
Right, exactly. But it certainly impacts the culture. It certainly impacts the industry.
Oh, yeah.
And like you said, when you opened up this topic, you said that, like, games can get canceled at any point.
Yeah.
So I think culturally speaking, both in the industry and in the community, you have this sort of feeling of, like, this entire franchise could get canceled at any time.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, there are some that you can believe are universally safe because they have survived. Good games and bad games. Zelda, Mario have all their franchises that have all survived terrible games and still come out on the other side fine.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, any project could go away. And I do think there is, I think one of the other impacts that we haven't really hit on is that, like, it's a scary world for new IPs.
Very.
Out there.
Which it's so risky.
Sucks because it's yes, it's risky, but it sucks because, like, every game at one point was a new IP.
Right.
And so if you stop making new IPs and stop letting people make their creative, I mean, you see the same thing happen in the movie industry. People aren't making new movies and writing new ideas because they're so scared of it never coming to fruition. So they're going to go with the safe thing and make the 34th Terminator movie.
Right.
Same thing happens with games. They're going to make the 50th Call of Duty because that's safe. They know they'll get a return on that. And I don't blame them for it, but at the same time, it makes me sad for the industry as a whole because we're getting fewer new games because, you know what? Why don't we just make Spyro 14? Because we know it's going to sell. As opposed to making Insomniac making a whole new, brand new thing that could be the next Spyro or could be the next, you know, Zelda. Who knows? Yeah. And that's sad. I think and that directly comes to, it's not just game cancellations. It's part of it is games that aren't canceled that come to market and then do poorly. It's multi-tiered, but cancellations certainly have something to do with it.
And I wonder, if you go back to our unionization topic, if that comes to fruition and the games industry does unionize, now you have studios that are protected that don't get shut down.
Yeah.
So when games are canceled, the people are still together.
Yeah.
How would that shake things up?
Yeah,
because now we have way fewer cancellations.
Right, but then you have a whole nother entity in place that is making...
Does that lay the foundation for games like Scalebound to just be released as is because they're protected and not able to be shut down, and then you have a terrible game and it taints Platinum Games' reputation, and it reduces their value, and then all of a sudden they kind of diminish slowly.
Even before that, you have publishers who are not picking up new IPs because they're just like, nope, not going to take the risk, and the union's going to get involved, and so we're just going to not take that risk. So it almost would, I can imagine it exacerbating the problem problem as well. So it's multi-tiered.
I got you on the anti-unionization topic side.
So many layers. I don't know about that. I don't know I don't know if you got me.
Yeah, I know.
But I do know I can definitely see that point of view where it's like, yeah, it would at the very least it would complicate things.
It would.
Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. Complicated doesn't always mean bad, but it does mean complicated.
Yeah.
So more complicated than is easy to discuss in an hour and 4 minutes.
Right.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to stop. What about you? Did you have any other final thoughts? All right, cool. We want to hear what your thoughts are. What do you think about canceled games? What are games that have been canceled that you were super disappointed about? What are games that you might have been surprised were canceled that we described tonight that you had never heard of, that you were like, what? I've never heard of that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So we want to hear your thoughts, your feedback. Termite, where are the many different ways and places that they can provide us with their feedback?
You can find us starting at 80bitpodsmash.com, where you will find links to all of our podcast services, Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. You can find us on social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
Discord.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at 80bit Podsmash.
Reddit?
That's the one.
That's the one.
Yep, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, and Twitter. All 80bit Podsmash. 80-bit Podsmash. You can find us on Discord. We'll have a link on every episode in the Facebook published link to our episode. Will be a link to our Discord. In the show notes, there'll be a link to our Discord. Hit us up there. You can join us and interact with us live. We have different discussion channels, if you will, that allow you guys to all be talking about different things that you want. We are also on twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash, where you can find us live streaming some Borderlands 3 action.
Woo woo!
So hit us up on any of those platforms. And if there's somewhere that we are not and you want us to be there, let us know and we'll put ourselves there.
Yeah, we will. Discord? Did you talk about Discord?
Yeah, many times.
Okay, did you talk about Twitch?
I did, many times.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I was looking at my phone and not paying attention to what you were saying.
Yep, I got it all covered.
Sweet. Well, check us out there. Please talk to us. Please engage with us. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your ideas. If you have a topic idea that you are super passionate about and want to hear us talk more about or want to talk about with us, because that's totally a possibility, then please reach out to us on any one of those platforms that he discussed. And please like, subscribe, and obey. Which is a Borderlands reference to finish out the night. But y'all, if you're playing Borderlands, please enjoy it. And if you're not playing Borderlands, check it out. But if you don't care at all, then please just have a good week.
See you next week.